Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Bound to Talk Football. I am your host, Blake Walker. It is just me tonight we're recording this on Wednesday night. It should come out Thursday. We're going to try to plan to get these things out on Wednesday. So you'll get episodes Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We're a little running behind this week, but it's just me tonight. Paul had stuff going on, so just me tonight on the broadcast, or the podcast, I should say. So if you want to tune off now, you can. Tonight, I'm going to be answering questions that we had people submit to our Instagram, and then we're going to be talking about some other stuff. Those questions will generate conversation. Obviously, it'd be nice if Paul was here, but I will go at it by myself, and then we'll bring in Paul on Friday's episode. I should say that'll be the preview. I just want to say thank you to everyone who has liked, commented, and subscribed. It's blown up, not like big, but in our standards, this has become bigger than we thought it would be. We're just going to try to keep making it better and better. Thanks to everyone who's liked and watched on YouTube, on the podcast platforms, everything else. I think there's still a couple podcast platforms that they're not out on yet. That we're trying to get to. I think SoundCloud is one of them. So we're going to keep thinking of different ways to do that. As I get a drink of water, excuse me. But yeah, so we're trying to keep up with that. And we took the suggestion of putting in title cards on the bottom. So that way you can just jump to your favorite spot. I don't know why we didn't think of that in the first place, but that is now going to be a thing going forward. So that's pretty cool. We're going to jump right into the episode. I first want to talk about our photographer initiative that I started just this week. It's been in talks at Bound for a while. Basically, we want to try to open up our ways to have photography and have photos in our post and make it more of a student thing. Whether that be instead of, crediting people and giving them permission and borrowing photos, that's good. But I'd like to get to a point where we never have to do that and we can just employ our own people. So basically, everyone that filled out a Bound application for us that we didn't hire, we ended up going back through. And if you were a photographer with us, then we went back through and sent you all emails or sent all the photographers emails that didn't get positions with us. And I basically said, hey, if you want to come and work for us, we'll pay you this much amount. If we ask you to go to this game on Friday night and take photos for this, you send us to a drive. We give you credit for the photos. You'll get paid for them. You end up, your photos are used on Bound, which is pretty cool. Tried to stick with the college student / almost college student demographic is what we're looking for, that people are working with us, just because high schoolers are invested into this. But yeah, we got quite a few responses back so far. We already have a couple people that are going to go out on Friday night and take photos for us. If you have any, if you're a college student that's listening to this, or a high school student that's not playing football or not a fall sport, I guess as of right now, and are good with photography, and I guess could send me some of your pictures, make sure to DM us on Instagram or Twitter. And I think we might take a couple looks at you. Again, if you're in university, I'm trying my best to take you or give you games that are close by. So, we'll just see what happens. But yeah, so very excited for that. Expect to see more photos that are of the games that we're actually posting about, as it just continues to grow. I appreciate everyone that's reached out already, and this is going to be really cool as we get moving. So time to move on to our Bound social media questions. This was a post that I put out on our Instagram stories asking everyone to submit questions for Paul and I. Obviously, Paul couldn't make it tonight, so it'll just be me answering the questions. And some of the questions, not everybody's question made it. If you ask, is this team going to be good this year, or what's blank's team record going to be, I probably didn't answer that. There's a couple team specific ones in here, but not like anything crazy. So we appreciate all the questions. We're going to keep doing this, so make sure to stay tuned for that. And yeah, we're going to have a good time. So let's jump into these questions. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter episode, but that's okay. Our Monday and Friday episodes are usually longer. So let's jump into it. So the first question that I brought up is from IA Sports Stats, and he asked, who is the most surprising team so far in each class? It's only been 1 week, so take that as you will. I went through and picked out one team from each class. Again, I don't have Paul's, but I could maybe guess some of Paul's, but I guess I'll run through mine and try to give a little bit of explanation. So Bettendorf, I have as my 5A team. Bettendorf beat Pleasant Valley. We don't know much about Pleasant Valley yet this season, but Bettendorf, that's a good win for the Bulldogs. Nice, I think 30-10 victory, 30-11 victory, something like that. So I'll go the Bulldogs for Class 5A. I think a lot of people might have said Ankeny or whatnot, but I tried to kind of go off concept here. So I'll go Bettendorf at least through week one. Again, it's only through week one, so it's not like I can be too surprised. It's basically what game surprised me the most. 4A, everything was pretty chalk. North Polk was definitely probably one of the big surprises. I think people thought North Polk was going to be good, but I don't think a lot of people thought they were going to be this good this early. So good win over Bondurant. I'm going to take North Polk as my 4A team. That's been surprising so far. 3A, Carroll. I said it on our Monday episode. I was just very impressed with Carroll. A 20-0 win over Greene County. I think they're going to be pretty decent this season. Class 3A is a little tough. There's a lot of just toss-up teams. But Carroll really surprised me. I think Carroll's the most surprising team so far in 3A. PCM in 2A, Sigourney Kyoto, at least on our side, from what we thought was going to be a pretty good team. And PCM took care of business. They trailed early, rallied back. They get a big game with Pella Christian this week. We'll talk about that on our next episode. And I'll go with PCM as my 2A team. 1A, I think easily Sumner Fredericksburg. I thought East Buchanan was going to be top 3 best team in the class. I thought they were going to roll to the state tournament up at UNI. And Sumner Fredericksburg comes out in week 1 and gets the job done. We'll talk more about them later as we have another question upcoming about them. Class A, everything stayed pretty chalk. I was going to go North Lynn, but we don't know how good Alburnette's going to be yet. So I didn't know how to really judge that game. So I went St. Ansgar after their 25-24 win over Osage. Osage is 2A school, I believe, 1A or 2A school. So to make that jump, St. Ansgar, only the true ones remember when St. Ansgar was a powerhouse up there with West Hancock and all these other teams. So I'll go St. Ansgar in Class A. And then we didn't really talk about it on Monday. We just kind of let it slip by. But Bedford is my 8-player team that surprised me the most. Moravia returned a good quarterback, a really good offense, and they just blew them out 63-20. Bedford plays Murray this week, which was almost one of our Class 8-player games of the week, or was almost our Class 8-player game of the week. So pleasantly surprised with Bedford. I will be curious if they can keep it going, to say the least. So those are my teams that I'm most surprised of so far in each class. Bettendorf, North Polk, Carroll, PCM, Sumner Fredericksburg, St. Ansgar, and Bedford. So it'll be fun to go back and see how wrong these were. Not wrong, but I could be saying I'm surprised about a team and they might not win a game the rest of the season. I don't think that's going to happen, but, got to say it just in case. All right, next one is a question from Jackson Cleespies. Who do you think is the best team in 1A? Jackson, I think it's pretty straightforward. It's a toss-up. It's a little bit there, but I'm still going to go with Grundy Center. I know they were in my overreaction section, or they were my overreaction to our week 1 recap, but I still think they're the best team. Part of me deep down thinks that Dyke New Hartford is just a really good team, which I think they are. I guarantee they're only going to have one loss this year, and it's going to be Grundy Center. I still think they're an unbelievable team. I still think they can maybe go undefeated. That offense is just so good behind Colin Gordon and company. The defense is still really good. I think Grundy Center is by far the best team in Class 1A. Thank you for the question. Next one is from Carter Mulford. Is Cedar Rapids Prairie going to be a tough team to beat this year? Well, here's the thing. Cedar Rapids Prairie, 2017 win over Cedar Falls, week 1. Nobody picked Cedar Rapids Prairie. I don't think anyone picked Cedar Rapids Prairie. And the thing is that the last couple of years, Prairie has been good. I mean, they'll get into the playoffs. They'll just mind their P's and Q's. Almost beat Southeast Polk a couple of years ago if it wasn't for the blocked field goal. So I think they, if anything, they should like being overlooked, because we think of teams out east. We're thinking of Linn-Mar. We're thinking of Cedar Rapids Kennedy, North. I mean, we're not thinking of Cedar Rapids Prairie of all teams. But yeah, I think Prairie is going to be really tough. I don't have their schedule pulled up, but they go to Southeast Polk next week, and I get to call that game, and I'm very excited. It's Southeast Polk's first ever home game. But imagine if Cedar Rapids Prairie goes in there and upsets Southeast Polk on their inaugural game at that stadium. That would be really cool. I'm going to circle back to another question down at the bottom by iCaller underscore 24. He also asked, is Cedar Rapids Prairie legit or is Cedar Falls overrated? I think neither. I think Cedar Falls is not overrated. Drake Gelhaus did not play on Friday night. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it was an injury. I don't know if it was something else. So when one of your star doesn't play, that's a big difference. They only gave up 20 points. I mean, it's not like they were giving up tons of points. They only gave up 20 points, which is about as much as I expect that defense to hold. So I think Cedar Falls is going to be fine. I will carefully watch on Friday as they take on Johnston. That will be a big turner because I think that's what kind of hurt Cedar Falls last year. They were a decent team, but they started slow and it just kind of bogged them down a little bit. It felt like it's a big game against Johnston. Johnston maybe got a wake-up call against Waukee Northwest. So I don't know, man. I think Cedar Falls is going to be fine. Cedar Falls is not overrated. They're a very good football team, very well coached, very good players all across the board. I think they're going to be just fine. And is Cedar Rapids Prairie legit? But it depends on your definition of legit. Like, are they going to win the national championship? Are they going to win the state championship? No, I don't think Cedar Rapids Prairie is going to win the state championship. But could they make a run to the Dome? Yes, they could. We will learn a lot in the next couple of weeks. How Prairie plays against Southeast Polk may be the difference maker because they should be 2-0 because they played Dubuque Senior this week. And Dubuque Senior is just not off to a great start. So unless they don't trip up, we could have a 2-0 Cedar Rapids Prairie versus a 2-0 Southeast Polk if Southeast Polk takes care of business against Ankeny. So thank you, too, for your questions about Cedar Rapids Prairie and Cedar Falls. Honestly, that game probably had the most – a lot of people just kind of left baffled, along with Paul and I. We were just kind of like, interesting game. I'm excited to watch those two teams going forward. Next question from Ashton Winterfield. What teams do you like out of Northwest Iowa? This one, I had to go in. I grabbed two teams for you. First one is I went with Central Lyon, George Little Rock. Paul and I talked about them in the preseason show. I think they don't have Zach Lutmer anymore, but they still return a good chunk of that offense and the defensive side of the ball. You're defending state champions. It's hard to just go out like nothing. You at least still have a pretty good fight. I think they're a very, very good team. So I think Central Lyon with out of Northwest Iowa, I really like the Lions. I think they're a really good team. I think they'll have a great chance to go back to the Dome. And then I'm going to stick with it. I think Spirit Lake is still very good. Bodie Higgins and that offense rallied together to beat Algona last Friday against Alex Mensky. Didn't really hold him into check, but 22 points against Holden up there is pretty good. Their schedule probably isn't the easiest because it's never been the easiest the last couple of years. I swear it's just like that rotation. Granted, districts have changed, but I really like Spirit Lake. I think Spirit Lake, if all goes to plan, I think Spirit Lake can get to the Dome. So I think that's a good one out of Northwest Iowa. I guess one more, I don't know a ton about them, but I saw they got a good win over Boyd and Hole Rock Valley, is Western Christian. Maybe this will be a year. The Wolfpack kind of sneak up in there. So, yeah, those are my three teams I'll give you for the Northwest Iowa side. We got Ed Berg, 46. I'm going to assume this is Eddie Burgess, maybe, but I'm not going to take guesses. But I think it's Eddie Burgess. Eddie, how you doing? Does Montezuma have a chance to win the state title? So at the beginning, I'm going to admit, last week before Friday, I went in and I was looking at people that had Montezuma ranked top 10. I'm like, okay, I get it. I was like, I don't quite understand the whole hype around it because I didn't know who they were going to run at quarterback. Everything's changed a couple last year. It's been Shear. It was Burgess, Eddie Burgess as quarterback. So they've just kind of gone in and out of quarterbacks, and they're always good. It's a good coaching staff. But this year I was just like, I don't know, man. Like Paul and I talked about 8 players so up in the air this year, but Montezuma was not in my top, 5 or whatever. And then they go out and they take care of business against Southeast Warren, who is projected to be a pretty good team. And then I see a sophomore quarterback, Brady Bolton, who I talked about in the last episode. Go check it out if you haven't already. He puts up numbers, and that offense is there. And the defense, 28 points in 8-player, that's not bad. I think Montezuma might have a chance. I think if not this year, I think they could definitely do it within Brady's time at Montezuma. And I know how badly Montezuma wants to get it. And the culture at Montezuma, I'm being from Grinnell, so I was close with Montezuma people. Montezuma athletics is one of those cultures that if they set their mind to something, they're going to go out and do it. That basketball team a couple years ago, super talented, but nobody picked them to win the state championship game. And what did they do? Trey Shear goes out and leads them and wins the whole thing. So Montezuma would love to go back. They'd love to have another chance after losing in the title game a couple years ago. Yes, I think Montezuma has a chance at the state title. I'm excited to see how they do against Moravia, but we saw Moravia's defense just couldn't do anything against Bedford. Might be in for a high-scoring affair, but yes, I think Montezuma could have a chance to win the state title if everything goes to plan. I think they're going to be pretty good. Next one is from the quarterback, Davis Van Sickle. He says, why are we sleeping on Sumner Fredericksburg? Well, we talked about that, Davis. Davis is the quarterback of Sumner Fredericksburg. So, Davis, I don't think we're sleeping anymore. I think, I guess, fortunately or unfortunately, you have put the whole state on notice with the win over East Buchanan. I don't think people realize it stinks because I have not seen that game being talked about enough. That game is so important because it's 12 points giving up to an East Buchanan team that is really good on defense, returned a lot from last year's team, and they just took care of business. So I'm very excited to see Sumner Fredericksburg the rest of the season. We actually have a photographer coming to Sumner Fredericksburg's game against North Fayette Valley this week because I knew in my mind, I'm like, well, these boys are going to be good, so we're going to need some photos of these guys. So yes, I think I don't think we're sleeping anymore on Sumner Fredericksburg. But before this week, yeah, I'd say maybe we were. But like I said, you've put the whole team, the whole state on notice. Now you just got to back it up. That's kind of the big thing. YDNA_5 says, is Prairie under the radar this year? Now, some people are going to laugh at this question because the last couple of years have not been kind to Prairie football. Prairie has not been good. They had a couple winless seasons. Last year, they won their first ever game and broke a long winless streak. And this year, they start out 1-0 after a 33-18 win over Des Moines Hoover. Hoover, in the same boat as Prairie, has not been great over the last couple of years, has not been able to field a team the last couple of years, but a win is a win. Both programs are going to get better. I guarantee there are bright days ahead for both schools, especially Hoover. Des Moines schools are starting to make a turn. The public schools are starting to get better and better every single year. Hoover will be back to a good, sound way. And I think Prairie gets there too. You can't stay bad forever, man. You can't be at the bottom forever. You got to go up. And eventually all there is up. And I think that's it for Prairie because now you start 1-0. Now there's no loss in that loss column yet. Now you're like, okay, here we go. Let's get in rhythm. Let's win a couple games, and let's do it. I think I don't want to say they're under the radar, but I think they're getting there. I have Perry's schedule pulled up, and I guess we can read through it. So they beat Hoover. This week, they are at Greene County, who just lost 20-0 to Carroll. Now, Greene County is no slouch. There's a reason I talked highly of them. They have a very good returning core on offense. It is going to be a tough game. Week 3 is home against Ogden. Week 4, they go on the road to Storm Lake. And then they hit District, but then District really picks up. They get a home game against Nevada, at Harlan, at Atlantic, home against Knoxville, and home against Creston. I think that a good year for Perry is obviously multiple wins. If you can get more than one win, I think that is a step in the right direction. And I know it's a process, but they're going to get there. I think eventually Perry will get back to a good level. I think you can definitely circle a couple games that are winnable. I'm not going to do that, but I think there are winnable games on this schedule. And you're just going to have to take it game by game, take the small victories. That's all you got to do. And I'm sure that's all that they've been doing the last couple of years. And that's good because that improves culture and that improves your stock in your team. Winning breeds winning. And I know that sounds so stupid, but I come from a high school that was struggling for a couple of years, and then they started winning again, and then people started wanting to play football again. And everyone's like, okay, they're winning. I want to join them. And you see it all across the state of Iowa. So I think there are better things on the horizon, and it's getting closer for Prairie. Are they under the radar this year? Sure. I think they could be. I definitely think they're getting there, and I hope to see Prairie succeed along with Des Moines Hoover in the recent seasons. It could go for any school. That could go to Cedar Rapids Jefferson, who just won their first game since 2019. And then I'm looking at their stats, and I'm like, well, these boys could win like 3 or 4 games. So, I don't know. Is it playoffs this year? Who knows? If it is, good for them. It's a tough district. You just got to kind of work with you got. But they have a couple young guys coming up. I also, ironically, if you're watching on video, this is a Prairie football helmet. And you're probably thinking, why in the world do you have a Prairie football helmet? Well, there was a guy, I can't think of his name. I think it's Mathewson's football helmets, mini helmets. ACGC AD, I think, principal AD, something like that. I'll probably get corrected. Really nice guy. He makes these football helmets for different high school teams. And he had I think he put a post out on Twitter, and he zoomed into this P or something like that, or he zoomed into the mask. And he's like, whoever can guess this helmet, and then if multiple people guess it, I'll put their hats in the name, and they get to win the helmet or get to win a variation of the helmet. So I was like, oh, it's Prairie. I'm nerdy like that. I could name every logo in the state easily. I was like, oh, that's Prairie's blue. I was like, I know that. So I guess Prairie ended up winning. And he showed me 3 helmets of Prairie's. He showed me this one. He showed me the blue one with the white logo. And then he showed me a blue one with the American flag in the P. And I was like, oh, they're all cool. So I was like, oh, I'll go with the white one. White one's pretty cool, nice and clean. And then I get it. And then I realized this is their middle school helmet. So that's kind of awkward. But Prairie, if you have football helmets you want to send them my way. That goes for anyone. Paul and I are trying to set up a better setup. This is just my living room that I'm in right now in my apartment / kitchen area. All I have is a billboard back there that says college football on it, and on it is a pin, and every pin has a top on it and is the logo of the college. So every FCS college and every FBS college is on that board. You can't see it back there. But I would gladly change the setup up just a little bit and start putting more of these helmets, high school helmets, on the wall. So we have a ton at Bound HQ up in Ames, and we just got a new office in Ankeny. So I don't know. But if you got football helmets, send us our way. We will put the football helmets in the background. I can tell you that. I guess I could maybe hang them up right here, but I can't really nail stuff on the wall. I don't know. We'll think about it. I went off on a tangent. Perry, you're going to be fine. Yes, let's move on. All right, next one here is from Cooper Andrews. Thoughts on the Waukee versus Waukee Northwest game. I don't want to give all my thoughts because we're going to be talking about it in our next episode. This game is what the state of Iowa needs. This is what football in the state of Iowa is all about. We all saw how good Waukee Northwest basketball has been the last 2 years. And I have been grateful that I've called, have I called every single one of the Waukee Northwest games? I think I have. I've been on the call for all the Waukee Northwest games in its history. And that is really cool. That's a really cool thing that I can say I've done. And it was a lot of fun calling them. And I see those two fan bases and I'm like, man, this is what high school sports is all about. And it truly is. So I think it'll be the best atmosphere out of any high school football game in the state this year. Both student sections are going to be filled to the brim. Northwest is going to be bumping. I mean, that place is going to be insane. Waukee's going to have to really buckle down on the road. Northwest, despite losing to Johnston, should have, their heads up because it was a good game. I think they should be looking well forward to this week. Rivalries bring out the best in everyone. We've seen how good the Ankeny Centennial rivalry has been over the year, and I'm going to compare this to the Ankeny Centennial, if not bigger, because technically these schools are bigger. But it will be one of the most electric atmospheres this state has ever seen for a high school football game, not in the dome. And yeah, this is going to be one of the best games we've ever seen in terms of just atmosphere and everything else. I hope it lives up to the hype. Sam Johnson, Beckett Baker, 2 young quarterbacks going at it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I don't have a winner for you yet. We'll talk about that. You'll see our predictions on Friday. I think it'll be a really good game. And the trophy, I can't pull a picture up on here, but the trophy, we were debating in our Bound chat. We're like, does this game have a trophy? Like, you'd assume it does. There's a lot of cool trophies in the state. And I might make a post or video just for that. But it turns out there is. I don't know if it was Cooper that sent it in, but they have the Key to the City, Kee to the City. And it's basically a giant wooden key that has a sticker or like something laminated on the front and or back. And it has the 2 logos and it says EST 2023 Waukee versus Waukee Northwest. So I guess the rivalry is officially called Key to the City. We will not be calling it Civil War. We won't be calling it the Battle of Key. It is officially called the Key to the City rivalry, which is really cool. That's awesome. Civil War and all those other ones, those are just temporary. We didn't really know what to name them. But Key to the City is really cool. It also has like a wooden base that it like sticks into, I think. So yeah, it looks cool. So the players can pick it up and do whatever with it. But it's wood. You gotta be careful. You gotta be careful. It might upgrade over the years. It might just stay the same. But it's really cool. I hope maybe somehow they get it so you can put the results on the like bottom base or on the key itself. I think that'd be really cool. This is the start of one of the best football rivalries the state has ever seen. So good luck to both teams. You'll hear more about it in our predictions and our previews on Friday morning. Next one is from Canyon Bright. He asked, who are the top 10 running backs in the state? And I looked at that and I'm like, I'm not naming 10 running backs. I was like, I'll do one better. I'll name 5 of them. And I want to preface this that these are not the best of the best. These are not my top 5 statistical gurus. I mean, whatever. These are, I guess, my personal favorite running backs in the state that I enjoy watching, that I will love to continue to go back and keep watching. So I guess I'll rephrase the question a little bit for you. Who are the top 5 running backs that I'm most excited to watch this year? How about that? That might not be exactly what you're asking, but you can go on 247 Sports. You can go anywhere and look at who statistically are the best running backs in the state. So we'll get there. So these are in no particular order, by the way. I'm going to start out with Jackson Cherry from Webster City. Incredible week 1, 266 all-purpose yards. The man is on a mission. He is the Webster City offense. It sure does seem like. Good win over Fort Dodge in week 1, 35-28. So yeah, Jackson Cherry, Webster City. Excited to see him. Should get over 2,000 yards this year, I think. I mean, he is on a mission this season. Next one in line, Ben Gordon from Van Meter, another one who is the offense. Ben Gordon, both on the running back side and safety side and linebacker side. He's just an all-around athlete. He is so fun to watch. He's a good downhill runner. He is a force to be reckoned with, and he is the reason Van Meter beat Underwood, and he's the reason that Van Meter could get back to the Dome. Lance Kuhn, Humboldt, really like this kid. I think he's very agile, can really move. I think he's going to be fun to watch this year. Going to give a lot of teams fits on offense, and he is Humboldt's offense. So excited to see him and what Humboldt can do. I'm going to go Brecken Klatt from Colonesco. I think if I read this right, this kid has 9 touchdowns already this season. So good for Brecken Klatt. Like I said, I have an aunt and uncle who live in Nevada, so I always drive by Colonesco's football field every single time I go to Nevada from Grinnell, where I used to live. So go Brecken Klatt. You are one of my people that I'm going to be keeping an eye out for. Also, I'm going to throw in just an honorable mention, Caleb Cook from Pleasantville, who went off. I'm going to put him in there. And then my last one is Grant Glosser from Western Dubuque. Man, that Western Dubuque offense is fun. I kind of want him to put up 60 points every week because that is fun. That is a really fun offense. So yeah, Jackson Cherry, Webster City, Ben Gordon, Van Meter, Lance Kuhn, Humboldt, Brecken Klatt, Colonesco, and Grant Glosser from Western Dubuque. And our final question of the night. I said it was going to be a shorter episode. We still have one more segment and a couple wrap-up thoughts, but our last question of the night, and it's not really a question, it's from Jet.9.6, and he says, you guys should come watch Des Moines Lincoln versus Des Moines Roosevelt's 8th grade game. So that's our final question for the night. Jet, if that's your name, I appreciate the question. Part of me would love to have Bound for middle school. I think middle schoolers would think it was the coolest thing in the world. My thought process is, and our hope that it is, if you're in middle school and you're watching this and you love our content and or you're liking and commenting on our Instagram, Twitter, whatever, is that excites you for when you get to high school, and maybe we'll post about you. We don't have plans to go to and cover 7th and 8th grade middle school football, basketball, whatever. It's not in our thing. We don't take stats for it. But I will say we do keep an eye on you guys. And maybe one day down the road, I hope your Lincoln versus Roosevelt 8th grade game went well, Jet. And I appreciate the question, and good luck to you the rest of the season. So once again, I want to thank everyone for submitting questions. We will be doing this pretty much every week. So make sure you have your questions. You can submit them on our Twitter, or you can submit them on our Instagram. We'll put out an Instagram story. On Twitter, I think we'll just put out a post and see if anyone wants questions. Or you can always leave them in the YouTube comments, if you will. We'll be checking those a little bit more often. Our last segment, I didn't want to put it in our preview because I like to look at stats and we go real in depth with our show sheets and whatnot for our previews. I have not looked at any previews, and the hope is that Paul and I don't really look at previews too much. And this last one is called our hot take upset of the week, or our upset prediction of the week. It's where Paul and I will give one upset prediction on a Wednesday. So we'll record this on Tuesdays. It'll come out Wednesday. So middle of the week prediction. It's without us really looking at any stats. It's just kind of off the top of our heads, maybe looking at a couple things, but maybe an out there upset that we're going to maybe predict. And I was looking around, and there's a couple that I was like, maybe. It also defines what do you call an upset. I think it's just one of those, it would surprise us if this team was a one, or it would surprise a lot of people. I thought Ankeny over Southeast Polk, but then I hold back and I scrolled, and I'm going to go with, I think Creston will upset Lewis Central this week. Now, I will most likely become bulletin board material for whoever is on the other side of these, but, whatever. We'll take it. I think Creston could upset Lewis Central this week. I got to call Creston's game against Winterset last year, and those boys are good, and they returned quite a bit. Cale Turner had 4 passing touchdowns in week 1, and then Brendan Hayes had 201 rushing yards. They defeated Winterset, ironically, 36-17. I didn't call that game. But that's a Creston offense that is no joke. Only gave up 17 points. Lewis Central coming off a 21-20 win over Harlan. I'm not sure how the vibes are feeling over at Lewis Central. I don't know if Harlan's as good as we think they are. Maybe both teams aren't as good as we thought they were. But just right now, that would be, quote unquote, an upset if Creston's able to take down Lewis Central, something they haven't done in a couple years. I think the final score is 21-19 the last time they did it. I think I saw it. It's probably like 2014, 15, or 16 last time it's happened. So go Creston. Don't let me down. And if you do, well, that's too bad. But I'm wishing you luck. Good luck to Lewis Central as well. Should be a great game overall over there for those two teams. So that is going to wrap it up for us here on About to Talk Football, our midweek episode. I appreciate everyone for watching and listening wherever you listen to your podcast. We will be back on Friday morning for our preview episode. Make sure to tune in before you get to your Friday night football action. You can listen to us in the car, on the bus. Just make sure to tune in. You never know. You might get some bulletin board material sitting in that car or sitting on your way to your football games or whatnot. We'll get there. We appreciate everyone for listening and watching. Paul will be back on Friday for our next episode of our Week 2 preview. Take it easy, everyone. We'll see you on Friday.